Also skip trace that property, which is really, really useful if it just came in from PPC and it's address only, for example, or it came in through another source and you got one number but it's no good. You can skip trace live right there on that property. You can of course do that in bulk too, but it really expedites the process. It's pretty good coverage nationwide. There's always pockets with any skip trace provider you use. There are always pockets that have a lower hit rate than others, but we've tested quite a number of them and had the highest rate with this provider. We are actually looking at waterfalling that as well and implementing that here in the near future, so that if this one doesn't hit, we'll check a couple more and see what we can get. But we did retrieve some information there on that skip trace. So I went ahead and I pulled the property data. I skip traced the property. We can see the skip trace record here, right? So we've got that skip trace record and information, and then we've also got the communication records that came forward for that person. All right. Let's see what else we've got. So on the left-hand side of this lead, we have the standard page layout fields: name, contact information, address. We can see a quick street view. We've got second contact information, mailing information, which we did pull from the county record data. We've got an engagement score and a lead score here. We've also got a property score and a pillar score. Now, of course, if you skip trace and there's relationships that are brought in or other data, that can be tracked in communication records as well. So we see that Mary's information was added here, which is a great thing. And we'll go over that in a little more detail in a second. Okay, so we've got a new lead created. Basic details, property attached, county records retrieved, skip traced if needed. The lead came in, I attached the property and captured any details I needed to. I got on the phone and I'm just going to start that basic conversation, confirming information that I have or need, right? That's the lead intake section. Any additional information I need about the property, I can ask about. You'll notice here, we've already got a lot of the property details because when we retrieve it from the county, we've got a lot of that information available to us. And I'll just show you some of those things that are here. You've got, the features of the property, subdivision, bed, bath count. We've got the legal description and parcel number. The owners and their ownership duration and equity is here. Their mortgage history, first and second mortgage if needed. Values and comps. Now this is really useful if you're wanting to get an idea before you have their conversation on the value of it. Of course, that Zestimate is helpful, but you can also jump in and preview your own comps if you'd like. And you can drop these off too and say, hey, you know what, these ones over in a different subdivision, maybe I'll drop those guys off. We've also got this one over here. It's 4474. Let's drop that one off. And then let's just grab this last one, 4485, and drop that one off. And we'll just stay in this subdivision here. So we can see we've got those 4 remaining, our values updated, and you can see we're starting to get a tighter confidence interval there on those comp values. So you've got your AVM, which came from the data provider, and then you've got these comps, which are calculated from here based on what we just removed, or what we kept rather. And this average dollar per foot is just a straight average dollar per foot of each of these sales against what our square footage is of the property. This weighted one is going to prioritize the properties that are most similar to the subject property in their size, their distance, how long ago the sale was, those sorts of things. So it will start weighting that price per foot based on a similarity score. And that's why that one's a little bit different. All right, so I think we saw 820 from Zillow, if I'm not mistaken. We've got 800, 825 on this average, 780 here on this guy. So we got a pretty good idea of where we're started. Now to get a true ARV, you may want to jump into MLS or something that also gives you pictures to make sure, like, hey, these comps that I'm using, were they recently flipped, if that's my intent, right? If I want to get that value. The last thing that's here is motivation. So this one just says high equity. So nothing else interesting on this property. Probably not one we'd be working. There's no pre-foreclosure, death, liens, nothing that I see that's a high motivation other than high equity, which can, of course, be its own motivation, but leads to other sets of questions. All right, so let's close this guy.